It is successfully PTB Day 9.3.0, and this is one that no one's happy about, so I'm gonna slowly get more energetic as I rant about how bad this PTB is. Everyone's gonna have the same opinion on this one. 9.3.0 is off to a terrible start. They're trying to do the anti-tunneling, anti-slug stuff again. That didn't work out well last time. And instead of acknowledging, hey, we probably just shouldn't bother, they're trying part 2. Technically part 3, because they did this 3 years ago and didn't take the hint then. Let's go. Either way, I'm just gonna hop right into it. There are very, very few, I would say, good changes from this PTB. I'll litter them throughout the video as a sign of hope, but the first one that I really want to talk about is the scratch marks, the ability to swap colors. This has been a feature that I've wanted for ages, but here's the problem with this being tied to the PTB and it being a quote-unquote good change, is that yes, it is a good change to let you change scratch mark color for accessibility, personal preference, all that stuff. Except that this is something that should have been released in 2016, so instead of this being a great new addition, this is more, at least to me, a finally addition, as in, why wasn't this a thing already? I don't even know why they didn't include the ability to change aura colors, which are also red and thus also accessibility issue, and also you can't see it on maps like Toba, so that's beyond me. But otherwise, I'll just follow down the list of the actual patch notes for the most part, outside just that little tidbit. Let's immediately hop over into the base kit anti-tunnel. It's fine. The killer aura visibility is stupid and should be 12 meters at max, and I don't like the elusive status effect. But it's whatever. I am not personally a fan, as the base kit endurance added 3 years ago should have been more than enough in most cases to negate actual meaningful tunneling, but I understand that the changes are specifically for newer players who are inexperienced with Dead by Daylight. However, the base kit aura read on the killer is very easy to abuse for a lot of skillful players, and it has the added effect of countering trap killers like Skull Merchant, Trapper, Hag harder by showing the survivor where traps are being laid, and those killers are already known to be pretty weak. The aura reading shouldn't come to the game at all, or at the very minimum lowered to 10-16 meters instead of 32, and the linger effect, it lingers for like 3 seconds after you're fully healed, is kind of stupid, because if you can get fully healed, I'm not being able to tunnel you. Also, while they made it to where some features turn off from the anti-tunnel features if you get fully healthy, why is being fully healthy still not a conspicuous action? I don't understand that part. Because it's easy to change it to that, right? And then that also makes it to where stuff like DS and Off the Record also get nerfed. Because, and this brings me into the other anti-tunnel thing, I hate the elusive stats effect as a concept. The idea that the survivor just existing removes the killer's information on hand for being unhooked is beyond dumb to me. I run full aura reading on over half the roster, or at least half of my builds are dedicated to aura reading, as a laid-back way of playing this game. Why am I losing all 4 perk value, 2 perk value, whatever, for 30 seconds? I could reason 5 or 10, but 30 is an insane amount of time to me, on top of having no sound from that survivor because they get base kit Calm Spirit Iron Will, as well as muting all killer sounds. Off the Record was one of my most hated perks in the game, not because of endurance, but because of the stealth it provided. This sucks more for my main killer Huntress, who already has a low perk pull, and relies heavily on snowballing. The chances of 2 or 3 survivors having stacked anti-tunnel effects is extremely high. The difference is that Off the Record is a perk that survivors have to bring over 200 plus other perks over. This is now every game on every survivor. The killer buffs are okay neat to meaningless, as the BP reward is good for new players, kinda useless at 9k hours like myself. The Bloodlust section is also useless for killers I like to play like Huntress, as I use Barbecue to throw hatchets at where I think survivors are. I get 0 benefit from this update for her, for Billy, for Unknown, for Artist, for other killers that I'm definitely forgetting off the top of my head, but even the weaker killers don't benefit because as Trapper, if you start putting down Trap, you lose the Bloodlust effect. The main issue that I have with the stealthing aspect of buffing stealth so that they can hide from being tunneled is that if you are a good killer, and I have 9k hours, I have, according to DB stats, now this doesn't count console, I am in the top 40 overall sacrifices for killers in general. Just flat out, I'm a top 50 killer player. I would argue at minimum, I'm a top 100 player. I am going to decimate most lobbies I get, or at least rounds are going to go by very, very fast. So it frustrates me that my rounds are going to get slowed, not because I'm tunneling, not because I'm playing bad, but because I'm playing too well, so all of these effects stack up on multiple different survivors instead of on just one. Which, speaking about ending matches fast, let's go into the anti-slug. The anti-slug itself is fine, except for the 33% faster stacking buff. Referenced in the anti-tunneling part, I'd already said I main Hunty, she relies on snowballs, and sniping shots, right? Survivors randomly getting 33% faster stacking buff, plus the ability to crawl faster than ever before, provides issues for long-range downs from her. The 33% faster speed can't come through, as it adds too much variables for if I down someone for half a second, they then get 33% for half a second on top of for their 2-minute timer, which messes with the UI, so then I have to guess on where it is, things like that. And I personally would really like Old Deerstalker base kit for 8 meters, which is within 8 meters of yourself, you see slug survivors' auras. If survivors are able to crawl faster, and with the tenacity being reverted to allow you to recover and crawl at the same time, I see no reason why this shouldn't come to the game. You can buff perks like Plot Twist and No Mither, maybe not Unbreakable, but you can buff Plot Twist and No Mither to hide your aura when you're downed, so that it's not like completely canning over those perks. I also have not played Twins, Oni, or a lot of other killers on the PTB. I played for about 2 hours. I think as an experienced player, you don't need to play for a long time with these changes to understand how bad they are or how side graded they are, so it's not a overly big deal. Since we're in the anti-slug though, I do want to touch up the tenacity, being able to crawl and recover at the same time. Good stuff, happy the perk got reverted, and making Conviction rely on healing other survivors and not letting you plot twist yourself into being able to use it again is also a very, very nice change. I wish that came with Crozio instead of waiting a bit longer, but overall it's a good idea. AFK crows being reduced into a shorter time, good stuff. Killer specific changes, the Myers changes are fine. I don't really play Pinhead or Cenobite as they're referenced in the files, so I can't really have much of an opinion on the change for him, but from what I've gathered, a lot of people say that this hurts Pinhead really hard to make Endurance automatically snap chains. So if they think it doesn't need to go through, I'm fine with that. I don't play the character. However, I do have a P100 Skull Merchant, and I am more concerned over here. Are the changes buffs? Yes. Do they need... No. Do they do anything meaningful, though? No. Kinda. Survivors still being able to crouch and stand up to just ignore the last lock-on stack for an injury will forever make her bad, and I understand why, as otherwise she becomes semi-oppressive, but this game also released Ghoul earlier this year, who takes 1/1000th of the effort for an injury, and also is 10 times easier to play. Tie the undetectable to recalling a drone so that we don't have to continuously nerf it, and make a survivor exposed when staying still / crouching that gets removed the moment they sprint move again, so they can still disable drones, but it makes it harder to do in chase, and it's a nice little timing dynamic that I think would be really fun, but I also like macro gameplay, which I understand most of the community doesn't, so if they don't want to do this, that's fine, but she's gonna need something else so that drones just don't get countered by standing still like a mannequin. The add-on changes that were listed are fine, however I think one of the Pinhead ones already exists, so now they're just making 2 versions, which is unnecessary, and I don't know why they did that. But for perks, not borrowed time, let's cover Babysitter. Babysitter perks are fine, I think it was just a number enough buff or nerf where they removed the haste or whatever. I don't remember because I looked at it and went, okay. BT is a weird change. They made it to where after you unhook a survivor, for the next 100 seconds, they're able to fully recover. I don't understand the idea behind changing BT. I think it's because they made the base kit endurance 30 seconds for being unhooked, which is still way too long. It's somewhat way too long. It's back and forth. But if survivors are running into the killer after an unhook to force the anti-tunnel effects before stealthing, the BT is just, like, if you unhook someone with BT and then they do that, they just pick themselves up with the killer's slugs in case of DS, and now we're just going back to the small PP build from ages ago, except that now it's teammates running BT, which is so weird, and it's on a timer for when you can use it. Just run Conviction, but whatever. The off-the-record change of making it just the stealthing aspect is fine. I don't like stealthing perks in this game. I don't like removing information from either side, but whatever. The breakdown change is awful. An already good perk that breakdown is, it's already good, and so it had to get its time lowered because 3 minutes was insane, and now it's 1.5 minutes, which is still really good for not being able to hook someone on a Scourge hook in a corner where it might be your only hook combined with Sabo builds, which is what this was most commonly ran with. So then Behavior decided, hey, we lowered the timer. Let's also buff it as a free won't make it. So now if you get unhooked, not only does the hook break for 1.5 minutes, you also have, whenever someone heals you, they get won't make it speed. Why? Fuck you. I can't fathom this. I'm gonna also go over Wicked before I go on a rant about, and let's cover the next two perks, Wicked and Furtive Chase, actually, because they both have the same thing. Wicked, an already really, really good perk, now has the added benefit of making you partially healed when you unhook yourself in basement. Why did they do this to an already good perk? I don't fucking know. Why did they do this after they nerfed Adrenaline to not work off hook? I don't know. I'm sure if you've been watching, if you're in the social media space for DBD, you've already seen people stacking Resurgence and Wicked, so when they self-unhook, they're fully healed. I thought we didn't want that to be a thing, but I guess I'm proven wrong. And then they changed Furtive Chase away from the haste to being Terradius, but it's percentage based, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't like this. The old Furtive Chase was good. The Bloodlust goes away way too easily for a lot of killers that would actually make use of Furtive Chase that currently use it. And it's just a fun perk with friends till the end. It's a really fun little duo perk setup that people use for information, and it encourages spreading out hooks, which is what this entire update is supposed to do. So you have Furtive Chase, Wicked, and Breakdown all receiving really, really weird changes, with both of the Survivor perks, Breakdown and Wicked, just getting buffed for some reason when they were already good perks. I want to know what stats Behavior is inhaling like cocaine up in that office, because I swear they must have a stripper lap dancing them while they're going, oh, that's the good stuff, just to turn over to their terminal and type whatever hell is coming out of those fingertips. I am so lost how they thought any of this was a good idea. Some stuff makes sense, like the babysitter, off the record, I guess the BT ones. The rest of it don't. Which, let's go into the add-on changes that aren't killer specific. The syringes and the styptics. Styptics, they made it to where you heal yourself slightly better than before. Sure, I understand the nerfs to styptics. They were kind of boring because it's just tank a hit really quickly, and there's not much the killer could do about it besides waiting 5 seconds. I understand why these were changed. Not too happy about it because I thought they were a fun gimmick, but I understand why. Syringes, though, they changed into recovering exhaustion. Now, I don't like sprint bursts, but I don't think sprint burst needs changes, if that makes sense. It's like I don't like facing Ghoul, but I would rather trust a Ghoul player to make changes to him than I would trust myself, because I would completely massacre the character in anything fun about him, because I hate Ghoul's design as fundamental. So they made syringes just recovers exhaustion immediately, which lets you go Sprint Burst, Pop a Needle, Sprint Burst, Blood Rush, Sprint Burst, like 3 Sprint Bursts in a row, or stack head-ons, or whatever. I hate this, not because I don't like the Sprint Burst stacking, but because I liked the fun little game of you see them pop a needle and are like, oh shit, I only got 24 seconds or 16 seconds or whatever to down them, I gotta go fast. It adds a sort of pressure from the survivor end to get your needle to work, and it adds a pressure from this killer end to make it not work off. And it's a fun little like mini back and forth in the round. Now I understand this was a strong add-on, but to me, the chase aspect was so important I didn't want it to get changed. What should have been changed, and was something that most people complain about, is that you could work on a generator while getting healed for free. So all they need to do is change the timer to 1, not work with healing perks, because then you could get the timer to be like 4 seconds, and that's kind of stupid. And 2, make the timer not go on, like not progress when you're doing a conspicuous action. Not a hard change. Why they chose the exhaustion route? I don't know. The rest of the update is kind of whatever. I'll cover the rest of it before I talk about Auto Haven, because I fucking hate that change. But they changed the BP scoring events, they upped some. I don't understand why they're doing this when killers like Huntress have a limited amount of BP scoring event they could do. I don't know if anyone knows that, I do. When you're playing Huntress, and you hit people with hatchets, you can only hit people, injure or down people with hatchets 14 times before you no longer get blood points for it. Why is that limited when Blight and Ghoul get an unlimited amount of BP for using their power? I don't fucking know. I just don't understand why. I don't like the new menu, but I don't like the new menu the same reason I didn't like when they changed the menu like 4 or 3 years ago whenever they added different queues. I don't like the fact that each time I go out to the main menu, I have to click a button for whatever queue I want, and then I have to click the side that I like to play. When I first started, it was play as killer, play as survivor, really simple, 2 buttons. You click one for each side. Very easy. The new UI, it looks nicer, but it's also, you have to find stuff in the settings and then click, and then it just, I don't like when it adds more clicks. You know what I mean? It took me like 10 minutes to find where the scratch mark thing is, because I don't know why it's in the beta tab instead of accessibility tab, but whatever. The FOV thing is like 2 years old and still on that tab, so behavior's logic, I guess. I'm sure I'll get used to it, and this is just all changes bad in my eyes, but the last thing I want to note about the menu thing, which I'm blanking on right now, I'm probably keep this in to make fun of myself. Oh, when you're in a lobby, they change the end screen to the tab button, and I don't know why, but that frustrates me, and they don't have it in the input binding to change it again. Because I would like if that just stayed on the escape button, because I understand they want people to change, you can change scratch marks in FOV mid-game, and they probably want to make that a little bit easier to navigate to than have to go to the escape screen and then go to your options, instead it just opens up your options. Except that they made it to where you have to click a button anyway, so it just doesn't make sense. But at the very least, they need to add an input binding to change it from tab to something else, especially because I know some people, I think Pixel Push does this, they have tab as their power button, which is weird, but personal preference. Most of my buttons are tied to my mouse, because gamer logic. And then there were 2 different map updates. The Hawkins map, I didn't play Hawkins. I walked on it before I got footage, and I looked around because I forgot to hit record. I already uninstalled the PTB by now, so I'm not gonna reinstall it just to walk around Hawkins. But from what I've seen, the map's okay. Most map changes we won't be able to detail until a few months after the fact to really tell behavior if they're good or not, because sometimes you do have to play on them. When Freddy's first came out, there were some loops that were like, oh, these could be stronger, these could be weaker, but now that I played on it, it's a pretty balanced map except for like 1 tile. So, knowledge helps. I like the changes that I've seen. I'd have to play on it to understand the full extent of them, but for the most part, I like them. Auto Haven's lighting, which is the gameplay that I've hopefully put in the background for this entire video, I do not like. When Fallen Refuge came out for The Walking Dead, I didn't like the lighting there either. I noted that since it is darker and the shadows are quote-unquote sharper, it's harder to see at a distance. If you like range killers, or if you just need as killer to look around for information and maybe spot a different survivor, it is harder to do that on Auto Haven than other maps. I had a few people in my Twitch chat note that when I was on Auto Haven, they couldn't see that well. It was harder to see the gameplay of my stream like it is on Coldwind because the map is too bright. So why did we change Auto Haven's lighting? Because it's too dark, except that we have a gamma slider now. So just change your gamma slider if you think Auto Haven's too dark. I don't know what else to tell people. I don't think the Auto Haven lighting should go through, but out of anything in this PTB, I know that's probably what's gonna go through and make Auto Haven worse to play on for me. But overall recap, and I welcome people in the comments to disagree with me, whatever. I try to be as polite as I can, but I don't know what it is. Small tangent. Some people's YouTube comments, I know English isn't everyone's first language like it is mine. I struggle to speak English myself because it's a very, very weird language compared to other ones. But please, check your grammar before hitting post. I struggle to read some of y'all's comments on other posts. But for the conclusions, the slugging and anti-tunnel stuff is fine, but has some kinks to work out. No base kit slug or read sucks with the increased crawl speed. Elusive is a bad idea in general. 33% increase to slug recovery is a bad idea. And while I can live with the anti-camping changes, when they do impact me, it will be the most annoying thing in the world. I didn't talk about the anti-camp changes. Oh my god, I started reading the conclusion without realizing that. Those are mostly fine as a small tidbit. When they happen, they'll be annoying because it's really only good players who abuse them or know how to abuse them. To everyone else, they're just going to kind of quote unquote exist. So it's whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I'm struggling really hard to see any benefits from this update, as most perk changes are either okay to why would that be a good idea. The quality of life blows for one side with very few buffs. Beast of Prey does get an indirect buff with the base kit Bloodlust though, which is nice for M1s, but with stuff like the scratch mark color change shouldn't have existed years ago. So it's less of a cool update and more of a finally feeling. All this on top of barely any bug fixes, which some people point out on the roadmap from earlier this year, November was supposed to be heavy bug fix update, and there's like none that got fixed, and it's very, very sad. My killer has had the same bugs for 2 years, technically 8, but really, really bad for 2, of hatchets disappearing mid-air, and that's still not fixed. I got no other words for that one. But I'm not sure what's worse. This update going to live as is for the final update as of the year, or this update not going to live and most stuff getting removed, or fixed with additional additions above. Because this is a very bare bones update with no bug fixes, no new content, nothing interesting to end off 2025 with, which has kind of been a shitty year for DBD if you're a long-term player. Probably a better year if you're a new player, which is, again, like I said at the start, these changes are meant to help the new player experience, but I don't think they took into consideration the veteran experience where people actually know what they're doing. I'm sure some people will do way more extensive testing than me, which if stuff is found out in the comments, please let me know. But I see zero reason to keep playing the PTB, and I think after this game, a lot of killer players will probably leave, so faster killer queues for me, baby. Also, I listed this, I was half reading what I wrote on the forums, by the way. I published that before I'm here. The content creator program is they said 4 to 6 weeks for more applicants, and we're over 150 days. Now, for those that can't do math, 6 weeks is 7 days, so you do 6 times 7, that's 42 days. We are 90 days plus over that deadline. 100 days, oh my god, I can't do math. 150 minus 42. It's like 110, like 108. God, I'm stupid. That's why all my variety stuff's got the idiotic experience to whatever. But we're like 110 days over the deadline. Let's hurry up, Behavior. Come on. Anyway, hopefully Behavior doesn't push most of the stuff to live, or they do. Hopefully it has heavy changes. Next video, I think, is a Resident Evil 2 compilation for when I was achievement hunting. Okay, bye-bye.